What is a strange but harmless rule your family has? The last slice of birthday cake belongs to the person whose birthday it was made to celebrate. Not strange in and of itself, strange in my family had to actively spell it out. You may not use any tools to open a gift with one exception. A tool may be used if it was also presented as a gift during the same gift-giving event. Example, going to get a pocket knife is prohibited. Using a pocket knife you normally carry is prohibited. If you are given a pocket knife as a present, it may be used to open other gifts at the time. There are no rules limiting how presents may be wrapped. When there are multiple dessert options after a large family meal, the lime jelly must be included in the options offered to everyone, but nobody may accept the lime jelly. Only my stepdad may have the lime jelly. The strange thing is that this was never a conscious decision we made. It was never really noticed until I was 17. It was the first meal my current partner was invited to, a big family meal. After the meal, my grandmother told us the dessert options as usual, then looked at my partner first as he was a guest. He politely asked for lime jelly. For the awkward silence that followed, he might have had asked if he could eat the cat. Then there was this weird awkward conversation where we had to explain the lime jelly rule, which we never consciously thought about before. Ended with my stepdad. For the first time in 4 years he lived with us, deciding to have a different dessert so my partner could have the lime jelly. Don't bother dad while he's eating. I was a stay-at-home dad and did most of the cooking. After dishing up and serving everyone, I'll plate my food just in time for everyone to come back for seconds, which I would dish up for them. After a couple years of eating lukewarm food, I made the rule so I could actually have a hot meal. I still enforce this rule. No one tells mom that my sister and I didn't buy our graduation photos and just framed the same photo with a huge watermark. Been 4 years and she hasn't noticed. If you find a gnome, you hide a gnome. I have an on-stage picture of my teenage brother that serves this purpose. I'm an adult and he visits my house sometimes, and I like to hide his senior picture for him to find. Most recently, he was the angel at the top of our Christmas tree. Youngest person that knows how to read hands out the Christmas presents. It's all fun and games till no one has kids and I'm 38 and still handing out the freaking presents. When a guest leaves, you need to walk out to their car with them no matter what the weather is. We were taught it was a sign of care and respect for the guest. We do that to make sure they leave. We're all incredibly sarcastic and kind of rude to each other. It's how we show love, but to avoid any actual hurt feelings, if anyone ever said the exact phrase, "Stop teasing, it's over," and everyone apologizes. Grew up with this rule, and trust me, kindergarten was a rough awakening when bullies don't bend over backwards at the magic phrase. An overall good way to grow up goofing around and joking with family, but make sure no one is actually offended when you roast them non-stop over something stupid. There's a framed photo of the girl which came with the frame among our other family photos on the cabinet. My grandpa received the frame and he died before he'll exchange the photo, so we're just keeping it at that. If you touch whatever is cooking, you become the cook. For example, if you come to stir a pot or lift the lid, you own it. Exceptions were made for preventing something from overflowing or catching fire. Though, if the latter happened, it may be best for someone else to take over. Don't touch my stuff when I'm cooking, or I'll stop cooking. We have a first day rule. You're not allowed to ask to play with or use any toys of your siblings on the first day they receive them. So, birthdays and holidays that you get a presents, you do not have to share with the others. And if they try, you get yelled first day. We also had a similar rule with my kids. It's only fair that they get at least one day to enjoy their new toy. I wouldn't call it a rule, more of a tradition. Every Christmas Eve after dinner and the presents, my mom turns off the power in the house and makes us play hide and seek for at least 30 minutes. Some years we were all into it, some years we weren't, but I never regret playing afterwards. It's great memories for the smaller folks and it's a lot of laughs for the older ones. Overall, would recommend it. When we have game night, whatever game we play, everyone must sit through a reading of the entire rule book and state that they understand the rules as they have been read, and any rule which has not been read shall not be included. House rules cause so many games to be all freaked up, especially Monopoly. So, we don't use house rules anymore, and by reading the rules every time, no one can say they didn't know the rules. We all have ice cream or no one has ice cream. Don't eat the whole freaking carton solo. Oh, and using 2 icings on 1 toaster strudel apparently now carries the death penalty. If you're the last person to leave the house, you need to put the radio on for the cat. Santa exists regardless of age. 28 now, and my siblings and I are still not allowed to tell our mom Santa doesn't exist. No Monopoly allowed. We tried it for a few family game nights and never ended well. My wife donated all Monopoly versions. I learned more about my ex-husband in one game of Monopoly than I ever did the entire time I knew him. He was an absolutely savage at the game. I've never seen anything like it, and he totally ruined the game for me to the point where I can never see myself playing it ever again. I never had the fun sucked out of something I used to love so much. I felt like a part of me died that day. So I can safely say that I feel this family rule deep in my soul. If you don't like the way I'm doing it, then do it yourself. Well, actually the rule here with just my wife and me is if you don't like the way I'm doing it and you are such a control freak that you can't learn to live with it the way I'm doing it, then do it yourself. When you cook a turkey, you have to give it a lemon boob job. It starts a few years ago when my mom saw it online and thought it was the funniest thing. She passed away a couple years and us kids have been doing it ever since. When eating a meal together, we have a certain sitting arrangement, but when drinking coffee, me and my mom switch seats. Same table, different arrangements. You have to try a food twice before saying you don't like it. All while growing up, my family had a 24-hour rule for leftovers. It goes like this. If you had something in the fridge you brought, called dibs on it, or didn't eat it, you have 24 hours before it becomes unclaimed property. At that time, it no longer was protected. I still follow this rule today. My family always has 2 dogs. You may insult the younger dog as much as you want, but you must never insult the elder dog. No licking the dog. My little brothers were getting out of hand and they started licking the dog. We had to establish this rule to make sure they don't do it again. Every year, we come together in November so everyone knows who they have to buy a present for. Because most of us are bad at thinking of presents, we always have to make a wish list and you have to buy what's on the wish list. You have to keep a budget of 50 euros in mind so it won't be too expensive. My cousin often puts extra joke items on her list that are obviously too expensive. Because of that, it becomes an unwritten rule that if you get her name, you have to get a joke present for her. For example, she was often talking about flamingos once, so we got her an inflatable flamingo here. Or we gave her a large plush husky because she loves huskies. 2 years ago, she was looking for land to buy a house, so my grandmother gave her land, but it was literally dirt in a pot. She always loves the joke presents we give her, and it always makes our Christmas Eve much funner. No books at the dinner table unless it's the dictionary. A serving of cookies is exactly 3 cookies. No sweeping or mopping at night. Mom and dad claim it's bad luck, but I don't know, it's because they're tired of us quickly doing our chores as they pull up in the driveway. My colleagues once looked into why sweeping and mopping after dark was not allowed at their house growing up either. Her parents always said it was bad luck. Upon her investigation, she found that back many decades ago, sweeping after it got dark meant you may sweep up something valuable that may have dropped in the ground like coins, jewelry, etc. As there wasn't enough light to ensure you weren't sweeping these things and tossing them, it became customary to only sweep during daylight. This is why I only sweep and mop during the day now, sign. If you wake up early to go to the bathroom and you feed the cat, you feed him by the front door so we all know he ate. Otherwise, scam the next person out of the second breakfast, and sometimes a third. Both my parents are gone, but if we need confirmation that the other is not lying, we swear on their ashes. My nephews, who are 15 to 25, may try and lie, but once we pull out the ash cards, they cannot lie. Never whistle when you're near the pond. This was at my old family home. We moved away from there nearly 30 years ago. Strange thing is, when I asked my parents about this rule, they have no idea what I'm talking about. I very much remind it being sort of a big deal. I'm thinking this was spontaneous. How do I stop my kid from being so freaking annoying right now, sort of rule. Cans of soda or beer are only to be consumed inside the house. People who drink out of a can outside are common. That's the only explanation I ever got from my mother, and she was very adamant about it. So, you want to drink something that came out of a can outside? Put in a glass. Nope, I don't get it either. If we haven't been to a restaurant before, nobody is allowed to order the same thing. If ever giving someone a ride home, wait for them to get the door to their house open before leaving. This may have been more important when I was growing up before everyone had cell phones. My parents did a lot with our church youth group, so there was a lot of events or times after get-togethers where some of them would need rides, and this was to make sure they were home safe and not locked out or anything. As a child, if you repeatedly farted, you were sent to the bathroom. An understandable rule with basics, in fact, of what you probably needs to do if you were farting a lot. I never realized how funny it was until I was telling my husband about it, and he lost it. If you swear and mom hears it, you must immediately go and wash any dirty dishes in the kitchen and dining room. Fruit scrap that have no meat go in the compost bin. We've always composted, and now we have a new rule of always labeling the compost container that was implemented when my husband and I were first married, and he actually ate green bean casserole out of the compost container. It was a plain old Tupperware container, and my mother had just dumped casserole on top of the old coffee grounds and eggshells, so he didn't realize this mistake until he got down a level or so. Poor guy was traumatized. So thusly, new rule to label all compost containers. It wasn't his fault. His family has never done anything like this. Not my monkeys, not my circus. We stay out the drama that doesn't directly impact us. The strange part is the fact that the above is literally the only way we refer the rule. We just understand it. Well, my mom thinks the rule is harmless. Whenever we say something negative about someone, the rule is that we have to say something nice about them. I've learned since then that it's toxic because it suggests that negative feelings are invalid and it's not okay to be upset by other people's actions. Good luck even getting through the front door without being offered an alcohol beverage, regardless of the time of day. You snooze, you lose. We are a large family, so when we meet there are bound to not be enough chairs, etc. We operate on a strict you snooze, you lose policy. The second someone gets up, fair game. The same applies to the last roast potato. My mom wouldn't let us have any drinks 30 minutes before, during, or after any meal. We'll be thirsty as heck and she wouldn't let us. When people came over, she explained her dumb rule and expect people to abide. If not, she'll say in a joking manner, "Fine, but you shouldn't be drinking before, during, or after eating." I moved out, but feel bad for my siblings. My mother-in-law must wash all plates before putting them in the dishwasher to be washed, and all garbage must be washed before putting them in the garbage can. If you throw out something, like an empty jar of applesauce with the lid on it, she will fish it out of the trash, wash it out, and then put the lid back on and throw it away. Christmas is a universal day of laziness. No one gets out of their pajamas or does anything that would require getting out of pajamas. We eat food that's been made the day before or snack junk foods like pizza pockets or mozzarella sticks. No one goes anywhere. It's fantastic. No food until after at least one Bourbon. Food slows your alcohol consumption. Also, happy hour begins at 5:30 sharp with no exceptions. We eat at 7, no exceptions. I love visiting my folks. It's like a regimented debauchery. While playing the dice game Yahtzee, the first person who gets a Yahtzee must stand up and yell, "Yahtzee, mother freakers," regardless of what company is over. Sorry, Graham. No one can sit on the seat closest to the door in the living room. That one belongs to Dad. No one can sit on the seat directly across from the TV. That one belongs to the cat. I don't allow eating out of the bag or box. You must use a plate or bowl even for ice cream. It was my dad's rule because he wanted us to use portion control, but I do it now too. Quarantine had made me relax it a little bit because I'm so sick of doing dishes. We hit each other's food if someone gets up and walks away from the table during a meal. Upon your return, the whole family keeps eating like normal and it's up to you to go find where your food wound up. It sounds rude, but it's actually pretty fun. It's like a little 5-minute scavenger hunt. The new rule is we got to take everything off in the mudroom room. If we went to the store or interacted with people because my mom thinks you're covered in COVID if you went to the store. So if you go from the laundry room to the shower and she bleaches everything you touch between the laundry room. It's weird, but we're all corona free, so who knows? Parents don't call kids or nag if parents don't call. Kids are to call their parents. Starts from my grandma because her mom made her feel guilty for not calling and writing enough. It might be horrifying to some people, but we kiss everyone from cheek in every family gathering like we spend 15 minutes on this in every gathering. I'm not sure how many people can relate to this, maybe no one, but when I was young, I was the TV banger. An old black and white TV was very common that the screen went crazy because some failure in it and you had to slap it, so I was the person who always stand up and banged it.